Most people walking through Costco never even look at the watch case. That is a mistake. Some of the watches sitting between the jewelry and electronics use the same movements and materials found in watches selling for hundreds more at traditional retailers, and several can show up for less than $300. The trick is knowing which ones are actually worth buying. Number 6. Bering. Bering is probably the least recognizable name on this list, which is exactly why people walk past it. The Danish brand built its reputation around extremely thin Scandinavian watches instead of oversized cases and complicated dials. More importantly, many Bering models combine two materials that are unusual at this price: titanium and sapphire crystal. Titanium is roughly 40% lighter than steel for the same volume, so a titanium watch can almost disappear on the wrist. Sapphire crystal is the bigger deal. It ranks around 9 on the Mohs hardness scale, just below diamond, which makes it dramatically harder to scratch than ordinary mineral glass. Walk into a traditional jewelry store and those specifications can push a watch well beyond $300. Bering keeps the design simple instead. Thin case, clean dial, quartz movement, very little decoration. You are not paying for mechanical theater. You are paying for materials. If you want one watch that disappears under a shirt cuff and does not look like a sports watch, this is the sleeper of the group. Number 5. Invicta Automatic Diver. Invicta gets plenty of criticism, and some of it is deserved. The brand is famous for enormous suggested retail prices followed by permanent discounts. Ignore the crossed-out price. Look at the movement. Certain Invicta automatic divers use the Seiko Instruments NH35, one of the most common workhorse automatic movements in affordable watches. The NH35 has 24 joules, hand-winding hacking seconds, and roughly 41 hours of power reserve. It is popular partly because replacements are inexpensive and watchmakers already know how to service it. That changes the value calculation. If an automatic Invicta with an NH35 is sitting at Costco for somewhere around $100, you are not buying it because a tag claims it was once worth $500. You are buying a stainless steel automatic watch containing a proven Japanese movement for close to entry-level quartz money. That is the anti-hype way to buy Invicta. Forget the MSRP, buy the hardware. Number 4. Casio G-Shock. There are watches, you baby, and there are watches you forget you are wearing. G-Shock was designed to be the second kind. Casio engineer Kikuo Ibe started developing the concept in the early 1980s after reportedly dropping and breaking a watch. His team pursued what became known as the Triple 10 concept: survive a 10-meter drop, offer 10-bar water resistance, and run for 10 years on a battery. The first G-Shock, the DW5000C, arrived in 1983. The important part was the construction. Instead of treating the movement like a normal watch movement sitting directly inside a case, Casio developed a shock-resistant structure that isolated the module from impacts. That basic philosophy still defines G-Shock more than 4 decades later. Depending on the Costco model, you can get 200-meter water resistance, alarms, timers, world time, and shock resistance for well below this video's $300 ceiling. And there is another economic advantage people overlook. A mechanical watch can eventually require a service costing $150, $300, or considerably more. A basic G-Shock may run for years with little more than a battery change. There is no prestige argument here. It is a tool. If you want a watch for construction work, hiking, the gym, travel, or anything else where scratching a $1,000 watch would ruin your afternoon, G-Shock makes more financial sense than almost anything in the display. Number 3. Bulova Precisionist. This is where quartz gets interesting. A normal quartz watch usually ticks once per second. The Bulova Precisionist uses a proprietary 3-prong quartz system operating at 262 kHz. That is 262,144 vibrations per second and 8 times the frequency Bulova cites for standard quartz watches. The result is the feature people notice immediately: The second hand appears to sweep across the dial instead of making the obvious 1-second jumps associated with cheap quartz. But the movement was not created merely to look expensive. The higher frequency system was designed for significantly greater accuracy. Bulova describes precisionist accuracy in seconds per year rather than the larger monthly deviations associated with many ordinary quartz movements. Some precisionist chronographs can even measure down to 1/1000th of a second. That is why dismissing this watch because it uses a battery misses the point. Mechanical watches get marketed as premium, partly because of their sweeping seconds hands and complicated movements. Bulova attacked the problem from the opposite direction. It used quartz, increased the frequency, and created a movement that is both technically unusual and extremely accurate. Some current precisionist models retail far above our $300 target, so Costco pricing matters here. If you see one under $300, check the exact reference before buying. And no sponsorships here. If breaking down what you actually get for the money is useful, subscribe. Number 2. Citizen Promaster Diver. A lot of watches look like dive watches. The Promaster is built to function as one. Citizen sells Promaster dive references that are ISO compliant, meaning they are designed around actual dive watch requirements rather than simply borrowing the rotating bezel and black dial. A typical Promaster diver gives you 200 meters of water resistance, a screw-down crown, a one-way rotating elapsed time bezel, and strong luminous markers. Then Citizen removes one of the annoying parts of owning a quartz watch: the battery change. EcoDrive uses light to charge an internal rechargeable cell. Citizen says the system can operate from natural or artificial light, so normal wear keeps the watch charged without regular disposable battery replacements. That matters more on a dive watch than it sounds. Every time a conventional battery-powered watch is opened for a battery replacement, seals have to be handled correctly if you want to maintain water resistance. EcoDrive dramatically reduces the reason to open the case in the first place. Citizen's BN0150 Promaster, for example, measures 44 millimeters, has 200-meter water resistance, and uses the E168 EcoDrive caliber. Citizen has sold comparable Promaster models for several $100s through normal retail channels. When Costco gets the right reference below $300, you are buying actual dive specifications rather than a fashion watch wearing a dive bezel. That is a meaningful difference. Number 1. Seiko 5 Sports. This is the watch I would check first. The reason is inside the case. Modern Seiko 5 Sports models commonly use Seiko's in-house 4R36 automatic movement. It has 24 joules, manual winding, hacking seconds, and approximately 41 hours of power reserve. Those last two features matter because older, inexpensive Seiko automatics did not always offer them. Hacking means pulling the crown stops the seconds hand, allowing you to set the time precisely. Manual winding means you can start the watch through the crown rather than shaking it until the rotor generates enough power. The 4R36 also gives you a day and date display. And unlike a fashion brand automatic where the movement's origin may be the last thing the company wants to discuss, Seiko manufactures the movement itself. That vertical integration is one reason the Seiko 5 line has survived for decades. The original Seiko Sportsmatic 5 appeared in 1963. The 5 referred to a collection of practical attributes centered around an automatic movement, day-date display, water resistance, a recessed crown, and durable case and bracelet construction. Modern Seiko 5 Sports watches are different products, but the value formula is recognizable. You get a real mechanical movement from one of the largest watch manufacturers in the world without paying luxury watch money. A current Seiko 5 Sports reference with the 4R36 can list around the mid-$300 range directly from Seiko. If Costco puts the right reference below $300, the discount is attached to a watch with a known movement and known specifications, not an imaginary $900 MSRP. That is why it takes the number 1 spot. The Bering wins on thinness and materials. Invicta can give you an NH35 for surprisingly little money. G-Shock is almost impossible to beat as a work watch. Precisionist gives you unusual quartz engineering, and the Promaster gives you legitimate dive capability without routine battery changes. But if I had $300 and wanted one mechanical watch from the Costco case, I would start with the Seiko 5 Sports. Just remember that Costco inventory and prices change by warehouse and online, so check the exact reference number before assuming two similar-looking watches have identical specifications. Which one would you actually buy with your own $300? The Seiko, Citizen, Bulova, G-Shock, Invicta, or Bering? And if you already own one, tell me how long you have had it and what has actually gone wrong with it. Subscribe if you want more watch breakdowns where the movement and materials matter more than the logo on the dial.